What would our city look like without the Catholic Church? Now, an obvious difference would be the absence of all the Catholic Charities and all the wonderful work that they do. And so, if there were no Catholic Charities, what would be missing? That's the question that we'll be exploring today. And we begin on the street.
It's hard to say. I mean, I suppose more people would be on the streets. I suppose crime rates might go up.
It would look really bad and shameful, actually.
We would have much more social problems and we'd have homeless people on the streets.
I think the city, there's a lot of people that need help.
It's something positive, something fruitful, something giving.
Definitely a good thing to have. It's more community driven and we're watching out for each other in that way.
I think in general it's a shared responsibility between government and communities and family members.
We're our brother's keeper in this world.
It should be more than just church, definitely.
That was the perspective of some people on the streets of Toronto, and maybe I should note that we're not just talking about the city of Toronto, but we're talking about the Archdiocese of Toronto, which is a much, much larger area, including the city of Oshawa in the east, the town of Orangeville in the west, and as far north as the town of Midland. And sitting here with me now are three executive directors representing three of the many Catholic charities that we have in the Archdiocese of Toronto. Anna Pavan, she is the executive director of the Rose of Sharon Services for Young Mothers. With her is Dominic Conforti. He is the executive director of Mary Center. And also here next to me is Kelly MacKenzie. She is the executive director of Silent Voice Canada. Welcome all three of you.
Thank you.
Let me start with you, Anna. So what would be missing if the Rose of Sharon didn't exist?
Well, that would be a very unfortunate situation. We're the only agency in York Region that provides
Really?
parenting and supports for young mothers throughout York Region.
So York Region is a large area.
It's a very large area, yeah. And we have a lot of rural parts to that. So, and we're the only agency that does give that support to.
So you're supporting young mothers?
Young mothers and their families.
And okay.
Yes.
Okay, not just specifically teenage mothers or
no, our range
mothers.
Under the age of 25.
Okay, so
yes.
Okay, so and what kind of services are you providing for them? Is it residential?
No, we don't have a residential component. We have a day program.
Okay.
So our programs consist of supports through education, counseling, and parenting resources, and that ranges from in-house programming to outreach.
Okay, so that's a lot.
Yes.
Dominic.
Yes.
Mary Center. You've been at this for a long time.
A long time.
So if Mary Center didn't exist, what would be missing?
Well, there wouldn't be a Catholic agency that provides supports to individuals who are...
Really?
Really. There is another one. It's a small, very small. St. Bernadette's is a small one. But in comparison, Mary Center is much larger than St. Bernadette's.
Okay, so you're providing services for who?
For people who are intellectually challenged
okay.
In the Archdiocese of Toronto. So we offer residential and outreach programs to individuals who are 18 years of age and older within the Archdiocese. Now the bulk of our programs are sort of the GTA, Peel, Toronto, and York region.
Okay.
And we offer a number of group homes, apartments, respite programs.
Okay, so it's not just one location.
No, it's not. It's several locations throughout the Archdiocese.
And when you say the larger or the largest, how many residents are we, or
we
clients
support about 250 people a year. The bulk are in our respite and our integrated seniors program. That's where the bulk. We have about 50 some odd people who live in either their own apartment or they live in one of our group homes.
Okay. And Kelly, Silent Voice is probably an agency that most people have not heard of.
We're small but mighty. We've been around for 37 years
Wow.
and we serve deaf adults, children, youth, and their families.
And so if Silent Voice didn't exist, what
there would
services?
Be a gap in services for deaf people, and the deaf community isn't a geographical location because of course deaf people live everywhere. So we have a far reach and there are barriers in almost all of the systems that people have to navigate, and deaf people, the barriers are, compounded. So, and also it's around language and communication because our deaf clients are signing deaf clients. They use American Sign Language. So we work with families whose babies are deaf and the babies are acquiring language.
Right.
and the family members don't know how to sign, so we teach them sign language.
Okay.
We integrate youth and children in sports and recreation and other activities that they would otherwise not be involved in because their schools or their community centers aren't accessible. We provide a sign language environment.
Okay, so when you say that there would be a gap, and I guess all of you said the same thing, so there are no government agencies or there's no other agencies that are doing the same kind of work, and I'll start with you.
There are some agencies that serve deaf people. We actually do different things. So Silent Voice is unique. And we have sister organizations, and we actually have a great referral system within those. So we don't provide mental health counseling, but another agency does. So we make sure that nobody falls through the crack through our referrals.
So if there are deaf children in the school system, that's a separate type of service, or would your agency be involved in helping?
Yeah, the other agencies
them?
don't do children and youth services, and we do.
Oh, they don't?
And they don't do family communication, which we do.
Okay, so if Silent Voice didn't exist, there would be no services for deaf children and youth?
Not the services that we provide, and there's no other agency that engages them in
the whole
activities.
Archdiocese of Toronto?
That's right.
And it's Silent Voice Canada, so what about the rest of the country?
Yeah, I'd say we were unique in certainly
incredible.
This part of the country.
That's incredible. Now, how about in
Well,
terms of government?
There are other agencies that provide services to our population, but what they don't do is the faith inclusion, and that's what makes us unique. Is when families come to us, doesn't matter which one of us, it's with the express purpose that they want their family member to continue in their faith community, whatever that might be.
Okay.
And that is something that we do. It's part of our job.
Would you not partner with the government? Like if there's a government agency, would they refer them to
We
Mary
do.
Center
The referrals come through a centralized referral system now, and it's based on whether or not there are openings in our services. So it's if we have an opening, then yes, we would go through the centralized waiting list and bring people in that way.
Okay.
But originally, when families came to us, it was with the express purpose that there be a Catholic agency,
Because it was a Catholic agency.
to serve their sons and daughters as they got older.
Now, in terms of other agencies that serve the same population, is Mary Center one of the largest or the largest in the Archdiocese?
We're probably in the middle. We're
Okay.
probably in the middle. There are those that are much larger, and there are some others that are smaller.
And how would it compare with maybe other parts in the cities or areas, rural areas in the province? What sort of services are available?
There are organizations throughout the province that provide services to this population. The majority of them that people will know about is the community living organizations,
Yes.
right? But then you also have other faith communities that are involved. L'Arche
Like
being
L'Arche,
one.
yeah.
There's RENA, which serves the Jewish community.
Okay.
Christian Horizons, which is probably the largest organization in Canada, which serves, I think it's the Dutch Reform. I'm not sure, but I think that's who they serve, out of the Kitchener-Waterloo area. So there are other organizations that do that. The Bob Rumble Center is another one that does the same thing.
Yeah. Now, Anna, in terms of that government partnership, do you get any government funding?
We get
How does
some
that
government.
work?
We do get some government funding. We are the only agency in York Region that provides this service. Although under the Archdiocese, there are 4 other agencies that provide supports, and some of them actually have residential components to us, to them. But for us, we have a balance of government money and Catholic Charities money that balances out the services that we provide.
Now, is the government bound to match percentage-wise based on?
No.
So how does the government? How does that work?
Well, that environment is changing
Yes.
as we speak. Originally, government would fund an organization to provide services to X number of people. What we've been seeing in our sector, anyways, over the last number of years, is that government is moving to giving families money to go buy services in the community.
Okay.
So we've started to change the way we operate. So it's, as Anna said, it's government money, it's Catholic Charities money, it's donations, fundraising.
Okay, but sorry, just to back up. So if the government gives families the money, you don't charge for the services. Does that mean that you will have to start charging for services?
Yes. So the expectation is that those families, hopefully, will come and buy the service from the agency. So we've created programs many years ago to respond to those initiatives. Our respite program, for example, is a mix of family money, government money, fundraising, donations, all mixed together so that we could meet the needs of that individual.
I'm just, sorry, go ahead.
And for us, it's a little different in York Region. We get the municipal monies that supports the program. One of the challenges is that most of this money goes directly to programming, which is brilliant because that's where we need the supports. What we are finding a bit challenging in, I guess for my region, is that there's no money to support the administrative part of it. So you know, you need a building, you need a building, you need the support staff to be able to create and provide these programs and supports, right? And that's where Catholic Charities has actually shifted a little bit in understanding that. That, you know, we work really hard going out there to find money to support programs, to support the individuals, and, you know, whether that's through fundraising efforts or donations that we come in, but we're still struggling to find monies to support what we do.
And just to add to that, Catholic Charities is a great advocate for us because they will take the issues and they will take it forward, whether it be to the Archbishop or to government. And because from time to time they do meet with government officials and they will speak about the issues that the Catholic Charities agencies faces. There is no other organization like Catholic Charities that has the breadth of services, from birth to death, and it's balanced out across
and they will handle a lot of the administrative things like the fundraising through Share Life, for example, so that you don't have to put money into that. And I want to talk a little bit more about that in a bit, but we're going to take a break. So don't go anywhere. We're going to continue this conversation in a bit. We're going to learn more about these agencies and how we can help them. So stay tuned.
Let us know your perspective. Email us at perspectives@saltandlighttv.org or reach us by mail, Perspectives at Salt and Light Television, 114 Richmond Street East, Toronto, Ontario, M5C 1P1, or call us toll free at 1-888-302-7181. Let your perspective be heard.
The outreach in justice and love is an extremely important part of our pastoral plan, and Share Life is the way in which we do that. We live our faith in many different ways, but one of the most important ways that shows that we're authentic disciples of Jesus is if we reach out to the poor and the marginalized. And that's what we do through Share Life. The money we give to Share Life helps people who are constantly with those who are in need, the poor, the marginalized, those who really need to be helped by us as disciples of our Lord. It's a profound way of doing it. Catholics should make a contribution to Share Life because it allows us to walk the talk. We talk about our faith, and we need to, but Share Life is the way in which we tangibly, physically help people who are suffering, and that's what our Lord wants us to do.
Share Life is probably one of the most obvious ways that we can help Catholic Charities, and I'm sure that many of you are familiar with the Share Life campaign in the Archdiocese of Toronto, but that's not the only way that people can help. But before we get to that, I'm intrigued a little bit about how you work together as agencies. I always thought, you think of Covenant House or Mary Center. I mean, Silent Voice, you're doing something that's unique and different. But it seems to me, just even seeing you interact with each other, that there's a relationship. That
we have a bond that's different than the bond that you have with your colleagues in the sector. My colleagues around the Catholic Charities table, we all share the same values. And we all come from the same place. Whether we're Christian or not, we believe in the values. And so we work together within those values. And that could mean
anything from shared services, which is an incredible incentive.
Can you give me an example, maybe, of how that could work?
We've got a huge project going on right now with the Catholic Charities agencies, including St. Elizabeth, who is going to be the lead in the work that we're doing, where we're looking at sharing our financial and HR functions, creating a hub.
So for example, Silent Voice, we're small. So I don't have an IT department, an HR department, a CFO. I have an executive director and program directors that run incredible programs.
And that's it.
So today we're doing advertising.
Yes.
When we go
Yeah,
back,
that's
we might
true.
be the finance person, and tomorrow we might be doing property management.
Yeah.
So the expertise at the table when we get together is incredible, and so my weakness might be somebody else's strength, and I can tap into that, and vice
just
versa.
share.
So when I joined Silent Voice, one of the huge incentives was that support, that networking. You're not in it alone at all.
Right, okay. And like, for example, would you do, and I'm looking at you, Anna, with some of your clients, would you, let's say some of the young women could be involved in helping, I don't know, people in the disability community or in some of the elderly centers? Something like that could work?
That could work. I think.
Did I just give you a new idea?
That just kind of went, the wheels started to turn, right?
Thank you. Thank you.
You need volunteers?
Well, the interesting part about Catholic Charities is that they really do support us as individual agencies because, again, as Kelly said, we have individual work that we do and we have very different sectors. But when we come together, it's that opportunity to brainstorm with some of these ideas that come up. So even though we're cross-regional or cross-sectoral,
so it's almost like it's one large organization.
Yeah. I mean, that comes together.
And we have shared challenges, right? So we can talk about those.
Yeah.
And if we have government funding, we have government experiences that we can talk about.
Exactly.
And then if somebody's gone through something before I have, I get to benefit from that experience.
Well, let's talk about, sorry.
Oh, and one of the other projects that the Catholic Charities is working on is that they're looking at how there's that shared services administration as far as HR and finances, but then they're also giving us an opportunity to do pilot projects within our sector. So we have young parent programs under Catholic Charities. There's 5 of us, and how can we collaborate to do whether it's a program or work together that brings us up.
And utilize each other's services. The Catholic,
and expertise.
The Catholic Family Service Agencies do counseling.
Yeah, that's great.
Right?
So,
and so we have a relationship with all the Catholic Family Service Agencies in the Archdiocese.
Where you don't have to do that.
I don't have to do it, but my staff can go to the agency confidentially and get counseling.
Okay. Now, Kelly mentioned challenges. And so, I mean, I know that finances are always going to be a challenge. So that's a given. They need help financially. But what other challenges would you face that maybe are not as...
An aging population.
Yes.
You know,
your client population?
The client population is aging, and, you know, thanks to the love and care of our staff, the good nutrition, the good medical care, they're living to ripe old ages. Our oldest resident now is in their 80s. And so, you know, they're having the same needs as you know, our parents as they age, and we're seeing, you know, Alzheimer's and dementia and the different aging concerns. So certainly aging. There's the need is greater than the demand is greater than what's there, right? The waiting lists are huge.
How would things? I don't know how long you've been with Rosa Sharon, but how since you've been executive director, how have things changed in terms of the demand?
Well, I've been with Rosa Sharon for 10 years, executive director for 4.
Wow.
So really came from a different perspective of, you know, kind of doing the frontline work and then going back into the administration and finding the supports and the fundraising to support the programs that we're doing, the funding that we needed. There, you know, we can speak about all kinds of challenges, and, you know, Kelly touched on something earlier too. There's also the stigma just in the community. You know, when we're going out to the community, when our young moms are walking the streets, when they're going to the mall or the parishes or the parks, it's those challenges that we've been working towards in the last, we've been an agency.
So you mean about
years.
educating the community? Educating
the community. There, these, you know, in my, again, in York Region, there are young moms, they're here, they're part of the community, and our goal as an agency is to give them all the resources and all the skills that they need to become contributing members of our community. And if they're not included from the beginning, then we have that challenge of the stigma around it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, let me ask Kelly then, how can people help other than, again, financially? I don't know how to sign.
Right, no, so awareness is key, right? If the community knows that, you know, deaf people exist and they're in our communities and they participate in our schools and our social clubs and our recreational centers. So what you can do is be less intimidated or afraid of that. You can remove barriers that are in place. In fact, that's the law in Ontario with the accessibility standards. So what people need to become aware of is how they approach others, and whether they welcome or whether they create a barrier for that person to participate in whatever it is that they do.
So what's something really practical, and maybe I'll ask each of you one really practical thing, because I don't even know how to recognize a deaf person.
Of course, you
right?
wouldn't.
Why would they don't look different? I mean, if
That's
someone's in a
right.
wheelchair, I might recognize them, but even someone with an intellectual disability, I might not recognize them. I mean, if she's pregnant, I might think,
Yes.
oh, she looks 16 and she's pregnant, but if she's not, I mean, so what's one practical thing that I can do to maybe overcome the fear once I recognize that person? Can I just go up to a deaf person and say hello?
Or more importantly, if you're an employer and a deaf person is applying for a job, don't consider that person incapable of doing that job
Right.
because he's deaf.
Yeah.
Or
okay.
if, you know, those are the kind of life-altering experiences that people have. They can't get housing, they can't get employment,
that's the biggest
they can't participate because of barriers, not because of
Treat
where
people
they're
as a
coming
member
from.
of your family.
Yeah.
Just
And
like
that's
they're a
actually
member.
the
Yeah.
Catholic values
Catholic
that
values.
we embrace as agencies, where nobody's
Individual
turned
worth.
away.
Yeah.
If everybody else could embrace that, that'd be great.
That's right. So we should point out that you don't only serve Catholics.
That's
Yeah,
right.
that's
You
right.
serve everyone.
Nobody's
Everyone.
turned away.
No one's turned away.
Nope.
No.
Doesn't matter if they can afford it or not afford it,
No.
because the
It's all
services are
free.
free.
Yeah. We ask that their families stay involved, because it is about family. So we ask that they stay involved and help their loved one and help us as well in caring for them. But yeah, we turn no one away.
And can people expect that because they're Catholic agencies, that faith component, Dominic, you mentioned this earlier, that the faith component will be there?
Absolutely.
It doesn't mean that you're converting everybody
No.
or preaching to them, but if they want to...
We explain to people that we are a Catholic agency, and those are the values that we share, but that we will make sure that their family member is included in the faith of their choice. So as we said earlier, it doesn't matter whether they're Muslim, Presbyterian, Anglican. If they want to continue in that faith community, we will make that happen.
Yeah.
And the values that we so, again, appreciate and are all embedded in everything that we do.
Yeah.
You know, from the
You don't have
programs
to
that
put
are
them
being
in
offered,
because,
that, you know,
It's
from
not
the
a
frontline staff to the
mandated
administration
statute,
staff.
you have to follow
No.
this. It's
And they're
who we are.
universal.
We are.
from
It's
everybody.
who we are.
They're all
Every level.
universal. They're compassion. It's self-worth. It's dignity.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, we need to we need to conclude, but we always like to conclude our conversation by leaving the last word to the one who is the Word. And so here is a beautiful passage from Psalm 146. Happy are those whose help is the God of Jacob, whose hope is in the Lord their God, who made heaven and earth, the sea and all that is in them, who keeps faith forever, who executes justice for the oppressed, who gives food to the hungry. The Lord sets the prisoners free. The Lord opens the eyes of the blind. The Lord lifts up those who are bowed down. The Lord loves the righteous. The Lord watches over the strangers. He upholds the orphan and the widow. Again, that's from Psalm 146. Anna, would you like to share something?
That's amazing. We are guided by Sisters of the Good Shepherd values. And Sister St. Mary of Freysia, one of her most famous saying is, lift them up in their own eyes. And I think that is so important, speaking to your reading, that we need to lift them up in their own eyes.
Yeah. Thank you, Dominic.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we do. Those who are most vulnerable in our community, we're there to lift them up and give them a sense of worth in their community, where they live and where they love.
Thank you, and Kelly.
And how we receive people and how we are received by people is just a reflection of something much larger than we are. And we should receive people with that spirit.
Yeah, no, you're right. For me, it's welcoming the stranger, because maybe it's the deaf person or the person with the intellectual disability or a young mother. To me, they're strangers, and I need to not be a stranger to them. Thank you so much. We always run out of time. There's so much we could be talking about, but we've been speaking with three executive directors from three Catholic Charities from the Archdiocese of Toronto: Kelly MacKenzie of Silent Voice Canada, Dominic Conforti of Mary Centre, and Anna Pavan of Rose of Sharon Services for Young Mothers. But don't think that there's only these agencies. Catholic Charities includes agencies, community and family services. There are people with special needs, for seniors as well, for refugees, for children and youth, and young parents. So there's a vast gamut of agencies. You can find out more at their website, CatholicCharitiesTOR.org. So CatholicCharitiesTOR.org. We've heard from them. Now it's time to hear from you. We'd love to hear your perspective. Be sure to share your comments with us through Facebook. Thanks for being with us. Help them out. And may God continue to bless you and your home.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.